for a newer originator, how do you suggest they get these at bats that your dad was talking about to be able to migrate their way through these tough conversations and figure it out? And then secondly is, I've become really close friends with Dan Habib. He's in the signature program for L360. He's such a wonderful guy. And I was talking to him yesterday about this, about how there are people that I watch when I see Barry speak. He's so brilliant as a presenter. I mean, his knowledge of the numbers and knowledge of the economic data is so fluent, it's unbelievable. But I always fear that there is a large percentage of the people that are watching and listening, and they're saying to themselves, I'll never be that good. But Dan is a perfect avatar for that, right? Because Dan grew up as Barry's son and has learned how to articulate all that himself. So I was asking him, I said, can you highlight like what you did to become so fluent and to become essentially a clone of your father? I mean, he's almost as good as his dad at it. So that's kind of, I want to dive into that a little bit. Let's talk to the people that are listening that may say, gosh, I don't have the number of bats Caleb's talking about. And where do they go to learn this stuff? And how do they practice it? And how do they get good at it to where they can have that same degree of affluence that same degree of influence over people when they're talking to them?
I would say first and foremost, realize that we may never be as good as Barry. And if Barry was in my market, that would be highly problematic for me. So the key here is you don't have to be better than Barry. You just have to be better than everybody in your market, for starters. So I would say know what your bogey that you're shooting for is. And not as just a shameless plug, I genuinely think that the Loan Atlas is a tremendous starting point for anyone in their career as a originator, even someone who's seasoned. So, I cut my teeth on your original product, Loan Toolbox, and it was so invaluable for me because the one thing I think that our industry is horrible at is there's not really clear templates for success or paths of ascension or business models as I've always looked at it. So one of the greatest values I've gotten out of our relationship and mentorship and coaching over the years is being able to peek behind the curtain of other very successful originators and really getting to a point of understanding I don't have to do everything that this person is doing. There are multiple paths to success within the mortgage industry, which is both a blessing and a curse because there are multiple paths to success in the mortgage industry. So you can waste a lot of time being busy, but not being productive. So I think it's very useful to model success. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, and there's probably not anything under the sun that's truly new. There may just be a new or unique way to present it. So I would say invest in yourself first through the variety of tools that are out there. I think Loan Atlas is tremendous. I think the CMPS is tremendous. I think Barry's product with the CMA is tremendous. Those are wonderful places to get that base level knowledge where you can at least feel like you can be dangerous in a conversation with a client. Now, in the terms from there, I mean, you may laugh. I literally would have conversations with myself, and it would be, I would miss with a client. So maybe they said, Caleb, that's really great, but I'm going to go with so-and-so because this and this. In my mind, I'm like, I should have said this or I should have done this. So I will replay that conversation. And thankfully, my wife is hard of hearing, but when she got hearing aids, this became very embarrassing because she's like, are you talking to yourself? It's like, yeah, I am. So I'll have conversations with myself either in the bathroom when I'm getting ready or, things like that, which is like, this is what I would say because I'm monologuing or having that conversation multiple times so that when you are live in front of a client, so to speak, you've already had a lot of those iterations or at bats, and then maybe you get a new rebuttal or a new pushback on something. You can go, oh, I need to practice what I would have said to that because I stumbled over that. So where I found myself stumbling or I found myself not knowing what to say, sometimes it's okay to take a pause to try to collect your thoughts, but you don't want to sit there for 2 minutes going, man, that was a good one, Tim. I don't know. I'm going to have to get back to you. So you can take a pause to collect your thoughts. And then I think it's also okay to say sometimes, that's an excellent question. I need to do a little research to get you an accurate answer, but then practice that after the fact. If you swing and you miss and just go, this is what I could have said, or this is what I should have said, or this might have had more value. And I mean, I've practiced on my wife in the sense of running things by her. And she goes, that sounded really dumb, or that sounded really good. So I think you can do that internal practice a lot. You'll get more at bats as you practice with clients. And I would say finding a counterparty, a colleague or a mentor that you can bounce stuff off of, and then invest in the tools that are available to you in the industry to swipe and adapt from others. I haven't really come up with a lot of original stuff in my career. I've really just taken what I've seen from others that work and then modified it for myself, because I personally hate starting with a blank slate. There's so much energy that goes into true creation from scratch. I'd rather save that rocket fuel for maneuvering the rocket while it's in orbit as opposed to getting it off the ground.